Shall we continue with what we were talking about on day before yesterday? I think we ought to, if I may point out seriously, that you're not seeking help from the speaker. There is no help outside of ourselves. If that's clearly understood, that no political or religious or every type of guru with their systems and theories trying to help people or trying to do good. We've had all those things before. In the last millennia upon millennia. So there is no help from outside. There is no, if I may use the word, Christian word, salvation is rather an ugly word, outside, through anybody, through any system, through any theological concept, either of the communist or the democratic and so on. So one has to completely rely on ourselves, totally be responsible for ourselves. What we do, what we think, and not blame all that we do on others, or environment, or on heredity, or on a genetic process. We have played with all those things endlessly in different forms. We have pursued every kind of philosophy. And we have great faith in something or other. There's always something outside. A symbol, a person, a conclusion, an idea. And they've all failed because after millennia upon millennia, we are what we are now. It's not the past generation that has produced the chaotic world. They have helped. But we are also adding to it. So, if we could together bear that in mind, no book, no theory, no person, no symbol, including the speaker. I am not excluding the speaker. Because one has to be very careful not to be influenced by him. Not to be stimulated by him. Not to rely perhaps on his clarification. And that is absolutely fundamentally clear that there is no outside help to discover what we are, what human beings have become after all these centuries of evolution. Brutal, violent, you know, the whole business. Cannot blame it on anybody. or go back to the far past and try to find out the various causes, and they have multiple causes, and we can quarrel over those causes endlessly. But the fact remains, we are what we are now after millennia of evolution, thousands of years of evolution. So that is clear. As two friends talking over together. We are two friends, actual friends. That is what the speaker feels about friends. And we can talk about things. Neither influence each other, not dominating each other, having no faith in each other. As two friends who have known each other for some time, who are discussing, talking over the human problem. Because that's far more important than the technological problem. The psychological problems, unless they are resolved, always overwhelm the technological problems, right? You may have marvelous technological world, mechanical world, the computer, but the human psyche overcomes the computer. It may bring about a series of good laws, the computer, how that you should do this, do that, and so on. But the psyche, each one of us, can overwhelm or transcend and do what it wants in spite of the computer. Right? I think this is very clear. So please, we must begin with doubt. With certain quality of skepticism, so that we can question everything in human existence, apart from the physical. You can't question a surgeon if he says you've got cancer. You may question it, you may ask it, but several doctors will tell you, old fellow, you've got it. Then you accept it, you can't doubt that. You can try various cures, all the quacks in the world will join you, but eventually you have to accept their statement. But in the psychological world, which is much more complex, needs great sensitivity, it's great intricacies, subtleties, and that demands a mind, a brain that is very clear, not confused, not self-centered. You cannot look at the whole complex of self-pursuit unless you are critical about it, unless you are questioning, doubting, asking. But the present religions in the Western world denies any question of doubt. You mustn't have doubt. You must have faith. And so, that quality of doubt, which is most vital in human existence, is denied. Whereas in the Buddhist and the Hindu world, doubt is one of the pillars of inquiry. So please, we're going to talk over together. Together. One must keep on repeating this, because there is the human tendency to accept, to be led, to be helped. By reading some book or other, you think it's going to do you good. So one must be very clear that one cannot rely on anybody, which means one has to be a light to oneself, which does not mean self-assertive attitude, having tremendous confidence in oneself. It does not mean the pursuit of one's own desires, one's own fulfillment, and so on. To be a light to oneself means standing totally alone psychologically. The word alone means all one. From Latin, Greek, and so on, that word means all to one, together, whole, not fragmented. But we translate that aloneness into isolation. We are afraid to be isolated. And therefore we don't understand the meaning and the depth of that word, to be alone. It includes the whole of time, the past and present, which is now alone. We'll go into all that presently. I hope we are together in all this. Doubt what the speaker is saying, and also doubt very much more your own reactions to what you hear the speaker say. Doubt, the seed of doubt. Not what you doubt, but the seed. Let it move, let it flower, let it grow till it finds what is truth. And to be alone, so to inquire into the nature of that, to find out the truth of that, not the statement of it, the truth of the statement. You understand? Hearing this statement and then accepting the words of that statement, but not discovering for oneself the depth of that word. I hope we're all getting together on this. It's pretty hot here. As we were saying the other day, we have sought security in the things of the thought. Right? In the things that thought has put together, which is in the community, in the family, in the community, in a larger community, and so on. Security in isolation. Security in the country, in the nation, in belonging to something, belonging to this group or to that group, belonging to that church or not, you follow? Belonging. And we have sought security in that. So one discovers for oneself that there is no security in isolation. Right? Now, how is that a fact? Or just a theory? See that this? If it is a theory, it has no, there are multiple theories. But if you examine your own desire to be secure, and you will find, if you pursue it, one has sought security in isolation. The isolation may be enormous, but still isolation. This process of isolation is fragmentation. Right? Are we saying something extraordinary, or are we following each other? Where there is the pursuit of security in isolation, the Arab world, you follow outwardly, the pursuit of isolation and seeking security in that isolation is fragmentation. And then the problem arises, how can the fragments be brought together? That's a wrong question altogether. Right? Because the search for security in isolation is the cause. Unless one is free of that cause, there is no fragmentation. And therefore there is no search in isolation. Either the isolation of the family or the self-centered isolation. I wonder if you catch all this. Somebody say yes or no. See what is actually happening in the world. I'm asking my friend to look very closely at what is happening. The family, community, the larger community, the nation, isolating processes. And therefore in that isolation there is the search for supreme power, politically, really, the whole sense of gaining power. And so there is more and more confusion, more and more problems, more and more destruction. This is very clear if you go into it. Not casually, not reading a lot of books, but to see the fact of it in oneself. So one has to inquire much more to find out what it is that we are why we are seeking security. Not that we should not have security. Physically, as we said, there must be security. For the baby to grow up, there must be security. for the man to live at least temporarily happily, he must have security. He must have food, clothes, house. But this process of isolation is denying all that to everybody. Each government is concerned with itself, with its own economy, with its own people, saving through the war its own people, not the other people. I don't know if you heard the other day, a general talking about the last war. No, this war over the little island far south. He said, the general said, I do not like to kill people, but we must kill them, but primarily we must save our people. And they are trained for that. So if one sees the enormous significance, the fact, the truth, that in isolation there is never no security whatsoever. Do we see this? Before we go any further, it's very difficult to break down the condition of the brain, which has been taught, educated, conditioned to live, to seek its own fulfillment in isolation. Now, what is security? Apart from physical security, what is it? What is it to be secure? Please ask we're together in this, two friends, sitting down in a quiet room, overlooking a nice valley, a lovely morning, being serious at the same time, and asking each other, what is security? To be secure. Is there security in relationship? You ask yourself that question. One wants security in relationship. Otherwise, if there is no security, which implies trust, confidence, love, and all that, and yet we want security in each other. And each one is pursuing his own isolation, his own self-centered activity. Right? We want security to have a peaceful life, right? Not to have any conflict, not to have any bother, no problems, just to live. And that's not possible either. So we are asking, what is security? Where do we find it? Not in some theory, right? Not in some image that thought has projected and made it holy. Not in any symbol, which is the activity of thought. I don't know if you're following all this. So where does one find total, complete security? The brain needs security. But at present the brain is confused. One philosopher says this, the other scientist says that. One guru, one teacher, the hierarchical church says something else, and so on. The brain is actually, after these thousands upon thousands of years, is confused. And in that confusion it says, I must be secure. So it then invents a new illusion. You understand? I have dropped this illusion. I shall find there is no security. Then I find another illusion, and I hope to find security in there. This is what we are doing. So where do you find security? Unless the brain is completely secure, completely certain, unconfused, it must be in a turmoil. Right? And if you examine your own life, your own existence, my friend, you will see how confused we are, how uncertain. Cannot rely on anything. Right? So where do you find security? Not outwardly, obviously. And will you find security in the psyche? You understand? In the me? In the self? No, let's find out. Don't say no. Let's find out. Then we have to ask, what is the self? What is the me? The whole psychological structure, what is the me? Is it the me? Is it a series of conclusions? It is. I believe, I'm convinced, I have faith. Right? I am this. And so on, expand it. So where, if it is not to be found there, outside, and if it is it possible to find out security inwardly? Please ask these questions. I'm asking my friend, both of us are defenseless. We are not defending each other, and therefore resisting each other. It's not there outside, and I hope to find it on the inside, somewhere inwardly. Right? Which means I must have more confidence in myself. That's how we translate it. What does confidence in myself mean? In my experiences? In my knowledge? In my prayer? Which is, the me is put together by thought. I have faith in something. I believe in something. I belong to something. All that is the movement of thought, surely. Right? Please, let's be very clear on this matter. Thought has created the mess outside, the confusion, the terrible things that are happening in the world. And also thought has created the me, right? We are clear. It's not some kind of divine explosion that created me. From childhood, I have been taught, educated, trained. Me is the first. Right? So we are examining whether there is security in the me. And the me is put together by thought. We must be very clear on this point. When I say I believe in God, and I have faith in God, my security in God, who has created that God? Please be factual. I am not attacking you. I am not attacking my friend. That would be too silly. And he's not attacking me either. But together we are questioning, doubting, asking. Right? My friend says, you have faith in God. He said, perhaps I have. And being friends, we discuss. We don't say, I believe I'm going to stick to it. He said, look, who created this idea of God? Then he asks, but how did all existence come into being? Right? And the scientific answer is more reasonable than all the theories and speculations, belief in God and so on. We came from the ocean. You follow? We've taken millennia upon millennia, 4, 5, 10 million years to evolve to present state. That means time has taken to bring about a human being, not within the last 4,500 years, according to some religious people. 4,500 years ago, Egyptians invented the calendar. You understand? That means they must have had tremendous evolution before. You can't invent a calendar just on the spot. So, he says to me, look carefully. The thing that you have created, thought has created, seeking security, being frightened of death and so on, you have created that. Thought has created that. And then thought then worships that, tries to find security in that, contrary to what you are doing, contrary to your life. I don't know if you are following all this. I may believe in the most extraordinary things, like God and all, supreme intelligence, highest principle, but it has to be a reality in my life. Otherwise, it's no value. Please, I'm not preaching, advocating atheism. I'm questioning. We are questioning each other. The fundamental issue, which is the urge, the demand, and the necessity for security. And we find we have sought security in illusions. Right? Now what happens? Please, look at it carefully. If you see something false, to be factually false, and you hold on to that false, right? You are not intelligent. I don't know if I'm making clear. If I tell my friend, look, this is not actual. This is just an invention. And in that kind of invention, illusion, some romantic, sentimental nonsense, there is no security in that. So please, to see the false as the false, right? Which means you already discovered what is true. You understand? Is this clear? If I see something false, some illusion as illusion, the word illusion means, in English, to play with something, ludere. Something which is not real. So I tell my friend, look, you live with false things. And when he sees the false things as false, what has happened to his brain? You understand my question? The brain has accepted for centuries something which is not actual, which is vast majority of mankind believes in God. Because God is their security. But God is the invention of all the rest of it. When my friend sees that and I see that, the conditioning of the brain has broken. You see? I have been going north all my life. And you come along and point out to me that the north is an illusion. There is north, I'm talking, is an illusion. He shows it to me. And as we are friends, we talk it over. And I say, but you, that's right. And I turn and go east, which means what? I have broken the system, the habit, the condition of the brain, which has been going in one direction, suddenly breaks away from it and goes another direction. Therefore, there is the breaking of a conditioning. I wonder if you understand this. Right? Now, we're going to go into the whole conditioning, but we'll go into that a little later. But I have broken the habit of pursuing an illusion. Therefore, there is the cells themselves have changed. You understand? The brain cells in themselves have changed because it hasn't fallen, it has pursued a habit and has broken the habit. Not through enforcement, through will, through any action, but pure, logical, sane, seeing the fact. Right? I'm working very hard for you, aren't I? So, where is security? Surely not in experience, right? Be quite clear on all this. Not in knowledge, because knowledge is never complete, right? Knowledge is based on experience. Scientific experience, hypothesis, theory, then proving that theory, hypothesis to be true or false in the scientific world. Right? So, where is their security? Please go into it. Sorry. I hope you're not bored. If you are, so you're a fan. It's really very serious question we're asking. Not a casual something, it's a demand of the brain to be secure. So it hasn't found it there outside, an outside agency, outside gods, or it can invent there's a God in me. Lots of people do. Millions do. There is a gentleman who says he does. And he's going to hold to it. It's not a discussion, we'll do that when all the talks are over. But we have to find out whether there is complete security or not. We have to be very, very clear of the process of thought. Thought, I'm going to it again, thought is a limited process, a materialistic process. Because thought is based on experience. Experience is sensory, right? Reaction, reflection, and from that arises experience, and that experience is limited, and that from that limitation, knowledge. So knowledge is always limited, whether in the scientific world or in the psychological world. Right? It is so, it's so simple. And so, memory is limited because it's based on time, the duration of time. And time, I'll go into what's question of time presently. And thought is limited. There is no thought without memory, right? And your memory, remembrance is small, limited. You may remember all the things from your childhood. I hope you don't. Then your brain is nothing but memories. And those memories are limited. And so thought is invariably limited. And so whatever it does is limited. Your prayers are limited. All the things in the church and all that is limited, put together by thought. Right? So obvious. What are you all resisting this I know why you're resisting. Very simple. You're frightened, that's all. You might lose your job. We were talking the other day to some priest. We were in a good discussion, we were friendly. And he said, all right, I agree with you, but how am I to live? That is, please don't laugh at it, that's for most of us too. Please understand this very simple thing. When you see something false, when you see the limited activities of thought and what it does in the world, because where there is limitation, there must be conflict, right? If I keep on repeating, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm this, I'm that, it's very limited. And that very limitation must bring about conflict. And in conflict, obviously, there is no security. Unless you love conflict and say that's part of your being, all right, then that means there's a hole in your head. So, we must come back to this point. When you see the false as the false and abandon the false, not just say, yes, I see the false as the false and just remain. But you see, when you see that which is not true, which is not actual, which is false, illusory, when you put it up, when you see it, it is the ending of that illusion. Not that you will conclude to end it, the very seeing of the fact. That very seeing of the fact is the ending of that illusion. So what has happened to the brain, which has been conditioned to the false, then when it breaks, there is a mutation in the brain cells themselves. I wonder if you see this. You understand? Suppose I have a very strong habit. Habit is different kinds. Habit, I believe, is a habit. A conclusion to which I stick to is habit. Go on, I won't go into the question of habit. When I break a habit, when there's seeing the futility of a habit, there's the breaking of it, and there's the change in the very structure of the brain. So, what has taken place when I see that which is false as false, and the very ending of that, what has happened? You're not doing it as we're going along. If you do it as we go along, my friend, then what has taken place? Please do discuss with me, just let's find out. Hasn't the brain become clear? It has put away the burdens which are false, seeing that which is false, acting. Seeing is acting. When you see something dangerous, you act. So the seeing is the action. Now, what has happened to the brain that sees? We'll approach it differently. Most of us want to become something. Right? In the physical world, we want to be something, to become something. I'm just a clerk in a big office, in a corporation, and gradually I work up. If I'm good, capable, I become the manager. From the manager, I step up more and more till I become the executive and the president. I have become, through time, to be the president. This is the physical process. Now we extend the same movement into the psychological realm. I am this, but I will become that. It is the same movement. It's not different. Both require time. Time to become. Right? What is becoming? I can understand in this physical world, I can earn more money, better car, better house, more pictures. If I have the money, I buy Rembrandt or follow. I drink more, you know, the whole business of it. The modern culture. We mustn't go into the question of culture now, we'll do it another time. I become there something. And I extend the same that same movement into becoming something. One day I will be enlightened, right? Enlightened, reach the highest principle, God, whatever you will call it, by righteous behavior, step by step by step by step. I'll become something. Right? That's the whole system of religious thought. Right? I go to the Guru, and the silly Guru teaches me. I'll one day become like him, and which means power. I'll have disciples. So follow all this very carefully. I'm telling my friend. So what is it that's becoming? Think it what it, when I say psychologically I'll gradually experience enlightenment and gradually build it up. What does that mean? Is there a becoming? Question that, not that I should become something psychologically, but we must question is there anything to become? Myself, my experience, my memories, my projections of what I should be, which means I must have time for all this. So man has said that to become wise, enlightened, become, all that, you must have, it's a process. Right? And we are saying quite the contrary. And I'm saying to my friend, that sounds nonsensical. You know, the whole Buddhistic concept, you wouldn't know Buddhism, doesn't matter. I'm just going to. The Buddha went through a series till he ultimately reached enlightenment, which I question. Is enlightenment, understanding, perception, matter of time? You understand? What is time? Time is a movement, right? Time to go from here to your house, to your chalet, to your flat, whatever it is. To go to Montreux or Lausanne, whatever it is. It's a movement in time to cover the distance, right? You need to have physical time to go from here to your house. That is time. And to become something requires time. You have set a goal for yourself. In the physical world, you have set a goal for yourself to become the manager, and you require time. And also you have set a goal to become something, right? To become non-violent. Let's take that for example. Right? You are violent, my friend and I were saying we are perhaps, you are not, but I may be, we are violent. And to be free from violence needs time. To become non-violent needs time. Right? We are questioning that, doubting that. You have to doubt this whole idea of becoming non-violent, which they have preached a great deal in India. The fact is violence, right? I'm angry, I'm jealous, I'm furious, I hate somebody. I want to be somebody more powerful. That's a fact. But non-violence is non-fact. So what am I doing? Cultivating a non-fact. And to achieve non-fact requires time. See the absurdity of it. And millions upon millions believe this. And because they are so powerful, the millions elect all the politicians. So, come back. So the fact is I'm violence. But to achieve non-fact requires time. So, to stay with violence needs no time. To understand, to observe, perceive the nature, the structure, and the causation of violence needs no time. Because it's a fact. If I look at it carefully, it will reveal the whole thing. But if I'm pursuing non-violence, I'm not observing. Right? So, please understand something. Perception does not require time. I'll show you. I'm violent. I say to my friend, suppose I'm really violent. He said, what do you mean by that word? You're not physically violent. I haven't seen you all these years hit somebody. I haven't seen you angry. But you are a violent man. And he said, tell me what that means to be violent. Then violence can exist only when there is contradiction in me. Please understand all this. When there is two separate activities in contradiction with each other. You understand? I say one thing and do another. Think one thing and act totally different from the thought. That's a contradiction that creates the opposites. So, he tells me, look, you have discovered something very... Where there is contradiction, opposites, there must be conflict. That conflict indicates violence. Violence I won't go into the more details of violence, which is imitation, conformity. Comparison is essentially violence. Right? When I compare myself with you, I'm much more bright, much more this, much more that, I'm envious of you. I'm antagonistic. I'm jealous of you. Jealousy, conformity, antagonism is violence. Because it's clear when I have put away the non-real, non-violence, I can see this to very clearly all the intimation and the complexities of violence. And when there is a perception of this, there is the ending of that. That violence is not separate from me. You understand? Must I go into this? When you are angry, is anger different from you? When you are sexually excited, is that excitement different from you? Right? So, is violence, comparison different from you? Or you are all that? My friend has been trained from childhood to compare. He goes to the school, there is given marks, compare. Right through that process till the university, if he is lucky enough or unlucky enough. Then when he comes to a job, he's still comparing, fighting, struggling, right? And we say all that is a form of violence. Of course, aggression and so on. Now, seeing the fact of that, not the non-fact of violence, which is non-violent, but the fact that I'm violent. Seeing the entirety of violence. I can only see that. There's a perception of that only when the non-fact is completely put aside. When there is no pursuit of non-violence of any kind, then my whole attention, the whole attention is on the fact. Then the fact moves, reveals shows what it is. And that very perception is the ending of it. Because there is no conflict as violence being separate from me. Violence is me, as anger, as your reactions, as when you have pain in your tummy or in toothache or headache, that's you. You are not separate from all that. Where there is separation, there must be conflict. As the Arab, Jew, and Hindu would. So, there is security only in intelligence. We won't go into the question of what is intelligence, but as our time is up, it is intelligence that says that's false, right? Because you have examined it, you have looked at it, you have doubted, you questioned it. But if you say, I accept the false as the true, then you are unintelligent. But the moment when you look at the falseness of things and see clearly the false as the false, that perception is the beginning of intelligence. Right? Now, to go into that intelligence profoundly, which we shall as we go along, that is security. Intelligence of that kind is supreme security. I hope we still remain friends.